Let us go with an example now with arrays in Java. So class arrays demo and public static void remain strings. So simply declare array. How we create array is say int some numbers array equals to new int of a20. This is one kind of array. So how can we give an elements for the array? To give elements for the array, we should need to take a loop as usually. Say for int I equal to 0, I less than, up to what length I have to read. Say example nums dot length. So length is a property of an array which represents the length of the array, and I++. For a while we just try to decrease the number of values of array, say example 5. And to read, you can take any kind of object to read. Example, take an util package scanner. So import java.util.scanner here. So scanner space object equal to new scanner. We all know scanner is used to read the input from the console. Okay, we just try to read here system.out.print line of, say example, enter elements, and we just enter the elements into this array. How we enter? Nums of I equals to yes dot next int. So next int is an method which is used to read an integer value using a scanner object and store that value into an array. Once it is done, you just try to find a sum. Example, say sum equal to 0, and try to find a sum as sum equals to sum plus num of I. Done. Once out of this, you just try to print the total sum as sum is plus sum. Simple example to illustrate. Array declared and a scanner to read the objects of integers. You can use scanner to read even double values. If you say next double, if it is a double array, and I have some variable to store the sum of each integer. So run the program. So Java space array demo, showing some error, maybe somewhere we have gone wrong. Okay, it is a nums array, not num. Again compile that, and Java space array demo. It will ask us enter the elements of the array. So example 45, 56, 78, 12, 34. Finally the sum of the elements of the array is 225. This is a simple example to understand the concept of how to create an array in Java and how to read elements into the array. Here the length is a property of the array which represents the length of the array. In our case, the nums.length will give us what? The length of the array. I can even say directly 5, but to mention that using length property, it's better to use nums.length. Don't be confused with length property and length method. There is a lot of difference. Okay, generally in length is an property for array, length is an method for a string. Likewise, you can create any number of array declarations. Example, if I have something like an array for employee. Say example, notepad space employee.java. So class employee, simply create a simple employee class in the string employee ID, comma employee name, example double salary. A simple employee class I have created, no methods and constructors even. So I just try to create an employee array in my respective program. So I just remove all this stuff. I'll create employee array. So how to create employee array? Likewise, employee space emp array equals to new employee of, say I want to create 2 employees, example. This is a simple employee array, not employee object, mind you. And how to create employees is to create employees, example say emp of 0 equals to new employee. This is called constructor of employee. The same manner, copy and paste, say example emp of 1 equals to new employee. It is since I have only 2 employees, I just do directly without any loop. If you want to create any loop like structure, simply say again same kind of structure, say for int I equal to 0, I less than emp dot length I plus plus, and simply create that emp of I equals to new employee. Done. To read employee data, simply create a scanner on top of it. So scanner space s equals to new scanner of system dot in, and inside this you just read something emp of I dot employee ID equals to, read that yes dot next will read a string, same manner emp of I dot example say salary equal to yes dot next double. In order to represent that with some kind of values, we just say that system dot out dot print ln enter employee ID. The same manner you just try to copy and even do for next thing, say enter employee salary. Done. Once it is done, you can enter the employee objects. Say example, I just want to I want to say that I want to find the total salary of 2 employees. Likewise, you can create any number of employees. Say if it is 3 employees, if it is employee of 3. So each employee I create employee ID, I give employee salary for that, and once creation of that, I want to add. If you want to add separately, you can create another loops example like this. For int again I equal to 0, I less than emp dot length and I plus plus. So create an variable for finding total salary. So say total salary equal to 0.0 initially, and how to get that? Simply say total salary equals to total salary plus emp of I is employee object dot salary. Done. And finally we get total salary of employee and print that total salary. Okay, so total salary is plus total salary. I hope we have done good. We just try to compile and check whether there are any compile time errors. So java c space arrays demo dot java. Okay, it's done. Arrays demo. It asks me employee ID. Example, employee ID is 101. Employee salary is some 13,000 dot something. employee ID 102 and say 34,000 dot something, employee ID 103 and say some salary. So this is the total salary for all employees. This is the way how to create an array, and the declaration of array. This is a loop for creating each object of array. See, I have 3 employee objects, so every time I create each employee, I have to create each employee object. This is called employee object. Example, say employee 1, employee 2, employee 3. 3 employees. Like if we speak in C language, I call structures. A simple example of arrays. Hope you understood. Okay, so we just try to go with another important topic, which is a command line arguments in Java. So what are called command line arguments? Command line arguments are the arguments which are passed from command prompt. Technically speaking, the arguments which are passed from string args main method. Means this is one of the ways of passing the input into the program. We can have we can read the input using a scanner, or I can read input using data input stream, or I can read input using buffer reader. I have different ways of reading input. One such ways is command line arguments. The arguments which are passed from the command line are called command line arguments, and all the arguments are of string type. Okay, so just straight away go with example. So notepad space example CLA dot Java command line arguments. So class CLA. To see the example of command line arguments, we should need compulsorily a main method, because the arguments will be passed only from the main method. So these are the command line arguments. This is called a command line arguments. The arguments are always of what type? String type. And there is no rule that I should always use as args. I can even change that as say Karthik. I can change it as something called A. I can say I can change it as something like say CSE example. Okay, so these are called the arguments which I pass from command line. Okay, for example, I just try to print here system dot out dot println. If you observe properly, the command line arguments are the array of strings. This is called array of string, and if you observe that this is a dynamic array, means I can pass any number of arguments. There is no restriction of size for this array. It is a dynamic array where I can pass any number of arguments. Example, we say that args of say 0. We all know array starts from 0. I'm just trying to print the argument which is the 0th argument. How to pass the argument now into this, and how to print this? See, just go to command prompt, compile that, say java c space command and argument program dot java. It is compiled. Now say java space. When you run the program, you should need to pass the argument. So java space CLA space example I say Karthik. When I pass Karthik, Karthik is the 0th argument. Like we have the arguments in C language. C language also supports something like this. Say void main int argc comma cat star argv. This is something like array of strings. Array of strings, and this is the number of arguments which we pass. It is something like command arguments in C language. In C language, the command arguments starts with 0th argument again, but the default argument will be always the program name. Like here CLE is a program name. In C language, the 0th argument will be the program name, but Java, the 0th argument will be after the program name. That is, Karthik is the zeroth argument. Example, if I want to print something like say command argument of 3, means I should need at least 3 arguments. Means totally I should have 4 arguments, including 0. So again, compile the program and pass the arguments here. Karthik, say Chandra, say Patnaik, say Java. So output is Java here, because Java is the third argument. So 0th argument, first argument, second argument, and third argument. So whichever argument I pass from the command line are always strings. Example, if you pass something like here CLA space say Karthik, I can pass 4.5, I can pass a boolean value, I can pass some integer value, so on. See, generally Java treats all these as string value. Even though 34 is integer, but it treats as string value. If you want me to do that, simple example, say that here, say argument of 3 plus say example argument of 2. I just want to add argument 3 and argument 2. Example. Compile program again. Sorry, compile first and run this. Now I just want to click run this. See, argument 2 and argument 3 to be added. So argument 3 is what? 34. Argument 2 is true. So 34 and true are added. That is concatenated. If you want to see only integer values, say then CLA space 2, 4, 5, 6. Observe here what I got: 65. 6 is a string, 5 is a string. So 6 plus 5 is 65, because these seems to be integers, but these are strings, because command and arguments always take strings. Okay, so whenever we take input from the command arguments, how to read those inputs, it's very important. Example, I have say multiple numbers which are passed from command line. I just want to do some operations like saying that, say find out something. Okay, example, I have passed 2 values from command line. One is a string and another one is say the length of the string or a substring. Okay, so means we should need to focus on the conversion of the string into the respective type. Of course, Java has a concept of wrapper classes, which do that. Wrapper class is something which converts the primitive into object and object into primitive, or one primitive into another primitive. If you want to work on wrapper classes, please watch my earlier videos of wrapper class, you'll understand. We'll take simple example to convert that. Say example, I just want to add two numbers here. Simple example, add two numbers. Say I have passed something like this. Say I want to add all these numbers. To add all these numbers, I should need to convert these numbers into integers, right? So treat this 2, 4, 5, 6 are the values I have passed. I want to add them. To add them, to access them, I should need to take a loop for accessing. So how to take that? For int I equal to 0, I less than, up to what extent I have to iterate the loop. Here I have the knowledge that I have 4, so I can keep 4, but I have sometimes I can have 5, 6. So I have to keep something like args.length. Args.length is then the length of the string array. So args.length and I++. And you just try to now get each value and convert the each value. So each value is something like args of I is one value, args of 0, 1, 2, 3. But args of each value is string, right? So how to convert this into integer is, we have something like integer dot %% of args of I. This will convert the integer into, you convert the string into integer, right? So what is that? Say integer x equals to. Try to add them. To add them, create a value here. Say int sum equal to 0, and simply say that sum equal to sum plus x. And coming out of that, system dot out dot print line of sum. Just run this example and look how it look like. So CLA.java done. 2, 4, 5, 6. The additional value is 17. So now 2, 4, 5, 6 are strings. So each string is converted into what? Integer, using an integer dot parsing of args of time. First time when I get args of 0, args of 0 is the value of what? 2. Next time the args of 1 is 4, args of 2 is 5, args of 3 is 6. The loop is repeated for 4 times and that will be added. So these are the command line arguments. We can do different number of examples. Every example can be done using this example. If you want to perform something like a factorial of a number, say example, it's a factorial of a number. I just want to write logic for factorial of a number. So just read that, say int number equals to what I say, integer dot parse int of args of 0 directly. I write a number, and to find a factorial of a number, just take an loop here. The loop should start from number, and I should need to store that into some value. Say example int fact equals to 1, and try to say fact equals to fact into num, and then do decrement of number minus minus. Done. And finally just try to store that system dot out dot print line of factorial of number is. What is that? Number is plus fact. Compile this once. Java C space command line dot java. Done. Java space CLA space say 5. The factorial of 0. Oh sorry, it becomes 0 because the last value what is 0. Better do one thing, initialize the value for some value, say int some m equals to num. Store this value of number in m. Okay, so the factorial of m is fact. Since the loop iterates, the value of number decrements by 1, finally the number will store 0. That's why I got 0 earlier. So the factorial of 5 is 1. Here we have simply done the conversion of value 5 into what? String. Sorry, value string into integer. This is the one way of conversion. I can even do another way of conversion, like I can say integer space num equals to new integer of args of 0. This is something called integer class, wrapper class. I expect same kind of result for this also. Of course, I can even get this like this as num dot int value. Num dot int value is an integer value. Conversion of this integer object into the integer type. Okay, so this is all about a simple example of command arguments, the arguments which are passed from command line. All the command line arguments will be of type strings. Hope you enjoy the session. We'll come with next session with a different topic. Thank you. Keep